I've been like spending my quarantine just recording what I can.
Yeah, I saw that you've been putting out a lot of stuff.
It keeps me busy.
Welcome back to Weekly EP. My name is Cody Swanson. This is episode 10 with Kyle McDonough from Kingston, New York. We talk about the 4th of July, small towns, plate reverbs, and wanting way too many instruments. Kyle has a large variety of musical output, so I was not sure exactly what this record was going to be, but it's a real treat and has some deceptively simple emotional punches. As always, we'll do a short intro, listen to the new record in full, and then dive into the creative process. Here's a taste of that record.
Middle of the ball field, you asked me to care. I was 13 years old and terrified of the thought of this going somewhere. I was too young to love you, too young to know what's right.
All right, cool. So, thanks for being part of this.
No, thank you for having me. This is such a cool little thing.
First question is, what is your name?
My name is Kyle McDonough.
Okay, and what is the name of your music project?
This one I was kind of doing as my own name, but it does fall under my project for Dancing Blue.
All right, where did that name come from?
Oddly enough, it came from Sylvia Plath poem.
Nice. I have not read a lot of Sylvia Plath, actually.
It's good. It's all about depression.
Okay. Where did you make this record?
I made it in my old basement in this house I rent in Kingston, New York. Right in between my my hot water heater and my my electrical box.
It sounds pretty good for a basement.
Oh, it's great. I just have to pause whenever the water starts. Hot water heater starts up.
I bet you, how many great takes have you had ruined?
Oh, endless. There was one where it was just like the last line of singing. I was just waiting for the fade out, and all of a sudden this is like boo in the background. I'm like,
Why did you decide to do this project or to make one of these records?
my friend told me about it. Shauna from Shauna Falana. She told me about it, and I was like, I would love to just record something for the sake of recording. I had already started doing that, but this gave me a reason to do it, and I always love a good reason.
Right on. So the 4 tracks that you made for this EP, would you say that they are along the same lines of the kind of stuff that you normally make in terms of your solo project, or like would these almost be a new solo project from your solo project?
Honestly, I feel like it's like this weird amalgam of like everything that I've recorded over the years. I've been in a lot of like different bands and stuff. Everything from like metal and hardcore to like country. Uh, so like I wanted something that like this is where I just kind of fell into, was like this weird like space lounge music. I enjoyed it because I recently acquired some new stuff to record with, so I've been like putting it all to good use, really.
Nice. That's always fun to have an excuse to use any kind of new instrument.
Oh yeah.
But Yeah. So the last question then would be unrelated to music. What is your favorite type of soda?
My favorite type of soda. Oh man, are we talking like I like to call them like seltzers and brown sodas?
I mean, like Sprite versus like Dr. Pepper or
Yeah,
something.
like if I'm feeling bad or like I deserve a treat, I'll drink like a brown soda, which is would be like I really like Moxie's, which is like a super New England drink. It tastes like a bitter Dr. Pepper.
Wow. I don't know if that's appealing or not.
It's got like this unique taste. It tastes like medicine, but in a good way. I don't know how to like.
All right. So is that going to be your answer then for your?
I'm gonna say Moxie. Yeah, I think Moxie is my favorite.
Okay. What is the name of? Or actually, here, yeah. Why don't you just introduce the record yourself?
All right. The record is called Times. I was gonna call it Weird Times, but it didn't fit right on the picture, so I just called it Times. And on the I sent you the cover, and the cover is actually a picture my mom took when I was a kid of our brand new stove that we got. And she had to like remember it, so she got her like film like disposable camera, and she's like, "This is our new stove," and she took a picture of it in our front yard. And I just remembered like being like, "Mom, it's just a stove." She's like, "This is a big deal. This is an appliance, Kyle." I'm like, "All right."
uh, so, so this is Times by Kyle McDonough.
The sun is coming, burns my eye behind my extra large coffee cup. I've been driving through the night to the old neighborhoods of past lives. That's the sting of a small town. No matter how far you move to, you've seen it all. My mouth tastes like cognac cigars. Come on, kill me a little slower, for my whole body up with tar. I see the fireworks in the night. 4th of July gets so lonely another year of my life. I heard you listening last night. Put your house key on the counter and left without goodbye. I heard you listening last night. Took me so long to grow up and realize and breathe. All down my back. Looking in the deep sky. All the houses that pass by. Outlined in black. You don't have to make up your mind today. What would the future look like if you had stayed? I heard you listening last night. Put your house key on the counter and left without goodbye. I heard you listening last night. Took me so long to grow up and realize no one knows you. No one controls you. No one knows you. No one controls you. Air this pushes smells like a life I once lived. A church in the baptismal when I was a kid. I remember how fervently your belt buckle shined. Stained glass made our young skin the color of wine. Hiding in a crawl space beneath where the choir would sing. You asked me if I was scared, and I pretended that kiss didn't mean anything. It was my first one, and it melted my shoe. I was too young. of July, the air was hot and thick. I could feel your resentment as it poked its head at me. In the middle of a ball field, you asked me to care. I was 13 years old and terrified of the thought of this going somewhere. I was too young to love you, too young to know what's right. I was too young to love you, too dumb to get it right. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Gypsy girl, listen to this summer breeze coming through my radio, raining down like fall leaves, made to the coast, PCH 503, let the sun set here, glowing soft and tangerine. Let's go out and see a double feature, just like the ones they used to do. I hear that you've got the market cornered on what I've been trying to do. Gypsy girl, you are my world, love you forevermore, a thing that I adore. Gypsy girl, you are my world, love you forevermore, you're the one that I adore. Let's go out and see the world together, just you and me without our things. I know that I'm a man with very few words, but it will make my heart sing. sing the same song that you sang last year. It seems so much sadder now. Do you still talk to your old friends anymore? Or do you stay home with your face into the couch? I've been holding your hand all night, sleeping separate beds till the morning light. You'll never come again for life. You are my lucky clover in a field of ivy. Is the sun coming up? Where am I blurry from? The shopping channel I left on the TV. It's 4 a.m. and my legs need to move. You pick me up and put me on the street. I've been watching the sky all night, searching for some kind of sign to know you're alright. You'll never come back beside. You are my lucky clover in a field of
So yeah, let's just let's just go through generally the instruments that you used or hardware that you used. Just kind of like what's the process look like from a tech perspective?
Absolutely. Well, my main things I use are a lot of different keyboards, and I use a lot of pedals, basically. There's a little bit of a guitar in there. I got a couple drum machines. My main keyboard I use that's like on all the tracks, which is that kind of electric piano-y, wobbly sounding one. It's a Casio, what is this? The CP100, I think it's called.
They got so many names for so many.
The CDP100, that's what it's called. It's right here in front of me. I had to look at the name on it. But that one is my main sound, and I'm putting it through Deadbeat audio modulation station pedal, and I've been putting that through a Joyo tremolo pedal.
Nice.
And that gives it that like warped electric piano sound. And then for like other things, I've been using like a microKORG for like pads and like low end stuff.
What kind of audio interface or recording software do you use?
Well, I kind of before this whole quarantine, I work as a live audio engineer. So like I do live sound for like most of the area. And I use a bunch of like random stuff that can record. Like I have a couple of, what are they called? Tascam Porta Studios. I have a couple of those that I recorded into. So what's that one called over there? It's like the Tascam Porta Studio 500 or something, where it's the one that records to a SD card.
Okay.
And what I would do is I think I recorded one of the songs like that, the one called Gypsy Girl. I recorded all of that on there, and then I took the SD card and I just mixed and mastered it in Logic. And with that, I also put it through what is it called? The decoder reel to reel.
Like an actual reel to reel, or like a like a digital.
An actual one.
Nice.
I was using it as like a pre for a lot of the sounds on that. You might hear like a hiss on a couple of the songs, and that's the reel to reel acting as like a pre kind of it gave this like nice like warmth and distortion to everything.
Right. Yeah. Especially I had a note on Gypsy Girl about that, and it starts off with a lot of what I thought was like an amp fuzz. It could have been a little combination of both, maybe. But
there was a little bit of amp fuzz also from a guitar pedal I have. It's a 1966 Marshall Super Fuzz.
That's an amazing name.
It's so great. But it sounds like the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction guitar riff. But every time I have it on, it just makes this loud hum. So that's me forgetting to turn it off at the beginning. But other than the Tascams and the reel to reel, I recorded using mainly Logic Pro X. I have a copy that my friend gave me.
Nice.
I'm slowly getting more and more into it. Like, this was my first real foray into using it, this recording.
Mm-hmm.
I've always done it analog on my my Porta Studios. So this was fun learning how to work a computer.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have access to an actual reel to reel or something like that, where you can, if you want that warmth, you can kind of move them back and forth a bit, that's nice.
Yeah.
When I was in, high school, that's when people started getting those really early Porta Studios before SD cards were really a thing. And it was like, they had an internal hard drive that had like 200 megabytes of space. So you could record like 17 minutes of, 4 tracks, onto this hard drive. And it was full. And it was like there was some guy that was like friends with the bassist in a band I was in. And he like, he was like, oh, our friend's going to like let us record in his, fancy McMansion, bedroom, he has like a cool recording gear and stuff. And like their, Porta Studio was 2/3 full. So we recorded like 1.5 songs before it filled up. And it was like, well, the fucking night's over now,
It's my favorite.
In the 7 days that you worked on it, how did the songs take shape for you?
At first I started off strong. The first day I came down into my basement and I just started playing ideas I had in my head. And like whatever came out. I just recorded a bunch of different ideas on the piano, on my guitar, like whatever came out. And I think I had like 4 ideas and I finished 1 or 2 songs on the first day.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I like mixed those songs for like another 2 days. And then I tried working on some more songs on the 3rd day. And really, it was like, it kept on going in that kind of pattern where I'd like record a bunch of ideas and then take my favorite 1 or 2 from that day. And then I would work on them for the next day or 2.
Okay. So you kind of just threw everything against the wall and then just picked the strongest that you felt the best about and just kind of pushed that one harder.
And like some of the songs I already had like worked out in my head. Like I had recorded like a demo version or something. But a lot of them I just made up on the spot as I was going through them.
So yeah, all right. Well, then let's talk about those songs. I don't know. I just realized I don't know if the track order I have is the correct one. I think I just
there's no real order.
Okay.
Chaos, good. Just chaos,
So okay, cool. So then the song that I have is song one.
Mhm.
It sort of feels like it's like a dual subject song in the sense that it seems to be about the kind of aimlessness or a kind of aimless feeling of being, in a small town, or kind of being by yourself in a small town, or feeling that way, at least at the time, as well as simultaneously being about the end of a not great relationship and sort of like learning about how to be alone, but then also still just being alone in a small town.
You pretty much nailed it with that. Yeah, it's I wrote it as like for whatever reason when I was younger, not really younger, when I was like 19 or 20, I was coming out of a relationship, and every year for like 3 or 4 years, I would just drive around on 4th of July by myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just drive around seeing all these people enjoying each other's company and everything, and and all at once it made me feel good to be alone, but also like have this like fear of missing out on things that I didn't really care about.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to like tap into that feeling uh, as much as I could when I wrote this song.
Yeah, no, I think you did. It definitely came across. That reminds me though of like the idea of like the Grinch or something, going along and looking at everyone having a
Oh
nice
yeah, I was
Christmas.
I was definitely I was like the 4th of July Grinch. Like that was
What a what a funny holiday to be like, for that to be your like depressive holiday.
4th of July in a small town in New York is just like it's
Okay, yeah.
you get all like the rednecks and the crazy people like shooting off fireworks and like losing their minds and drinking in the street, and I'm just like, I don't want any part of that.
Not even the fireworks.
I can see the fireworks from like there's this point in between, like I live in Kingston and there's a town not too far outside of it called Saugerties, and there's this point in between the two cities where you could see both their fireworks from this parking lot in like an old candle factory, and I would used to
Oh, nice.
I used to sit there because it was quiet, but I could still see all the fireworks.
One thing I noticed about the song too is it's very sparse. It's just this one feels very much just like the drum beat and then electric guitar.
There is the drum beat, which is an old rhythm ace machine, and then I used guitar, I used bass, and I think I used a pad on there, just like something to like fill in some of that negative space. But the guitar is just doing a rhythm. The bass is just trying to keep in time with the drum machine. I didn't want anything to be like too standout-ish. I wanted it to be just kind of like a flowy song.
It definitely, based on I think the kind of the lyrics of the subject, it definitely worked better to have it as a empty song in terms of explosive instrumentation, or
Yeah.
kind of arrangements and stuff. And so, okay, and song two, that what I have written down as song two,
Yeah.
is "Old,"
Yes.
which starts with some really cool, haunting, ethereal, mostly non-syllabic, like non
Like
words.
Gregorian chant.
Your vocal reverb, was that a pedal or was that digital? Or
That was digital. It was in Logic. I had just figured out how to work the reverbs on Logic. So that was me like being like, oh, now I can finally like add them into the songs.
nice.
And I wanted to have like something to fill space in that song with, like, as far as like I didn't want another instrument because it was instrument heavy already. So I just decided to do like oohs and ahs and like try and call and response a little bit every once in a while. And that's where that all came from. It was like a plate reverb and tape delay that was like super tight, so it made like a triplet of my voice.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good sounding reverb actually, especially for digital.
I love plate reverbs. Like usually you can't go wrong with them.
I wonder if there's someone, probably not anymore, but if back in the day there was sort of like a piano tuner, but for plate reverbs.
I feel like there
You know,
had
like you'd
to
have
be,
to
you know?
call someone in there to like tighten a couple screws and kind of balance it out, you know. Yeah, I feel like you'd probably sing into it one day and be like, hey, the reverb's not working.
There's no way that thing was not problematic, you know?
I also really like the line in that song, I was too young to love you. Like a form of regret that's like based less on something done wrong and more just on a realization that you just didn't have the tools to do it right, you know?
The song is actually about the first girl I kissed when I was like 13. Also on 4th of July. Wow.
By the end of this, we'll have a good window into your psyche
Yeah, it's
here,
just
and maybe like how.
this is my problem with 4th of July. This is where it all started, I guess. But yeah, it was about that whole situation. And like, it made me super uncomfortable because I was like a little kid still.
Yeah, no, I mean it's yeah, it's a really nice song. The synth pads sort of feel like they are the structural support for the vocal melody, and then the guitar and other piano kind of dance around with like little hook melodies that kind of come in and out, you know. But the song is really supported by this kind of low, slow, spacey synth pad, which is kind of a really cool, neat. Because I write a lot of songs that are guitar at the core, just because I'm pretty bad at playing chords and other instruments, but. You know, like it, but so that's always kind of fun to me to like hear a song that's really not supported by guitar or any kind of standard rhythm instrument, I guess.
I always liked the idea of guitar not being the main subject of a song or main like driving force behind a song. I always think of it in like an orchestral way where like they made songs for years before guitar was even like thought to be important in bands, and like how can I write songs where like something else can be the driving force? Because
well, you should look into jazz then, because I
see I always loved like gypsy jazz with like Django Reinhardt, and like when it was like super like guitar focused. Like if it's gonna be guitar focused, it's nothing but guitar, you know?
Right. All guitars. It's 5 guitars.
It's like it's an all or nothing type thing with me.
Is that where the inspiration for Gypsy Girl came from?
The inspiration for Gypsy Girl came from a Jimmy Buffett song. I really wanted to record something that sounded like an island song. Or like a Jimmy Buffett white guy on that Sandals Resort or something. Like I wanted the song that Michael Scott would have written while he was laying at the pool at Sandals with Jan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little better than what he would have come up with for sure. It's also not a super long song. I think it's one of the shorter. It feels like, at least, of the 4. And it's kind of like, it has this really kind of, bouncy, breezy kind of feeling. And it's sort of like, oh, I love this person so much, you know? And then it's like, all right, it's over.
I originally started writing it instead of Gypsy Girl, it being Junkie Girl. And I thought, you know what? This seems a little dark. Let's make it happier. I didn't want to end it on a dark note, you know?
Yeah. That's fair. I think the island theme's much a little better in that case. But now I'm wondering what a gypsy's doing on an island.
They got stuck. The caravan stuff there.
The 4th song, Lucky, also seemed to have a lot of kind of airy, breezy feelings as well.
That one was one I wrote out of thin air while I was recording this.
Nice.
I had the chord progression. I really liked it. It was like a chord progression. I had kind of taken a bunch of chords from a James Taylor song and I reworked them into this, and I wrote a completely different sounding song off of them.
Nice.
Yeah, but this was like kind of, I recorded this around along the same time I was recording I Heard You Listening. So it kind of had the same like floaty, wallowy type sound to it.
And when I decide what the track listing is going to be, then I will put those songs as bookends so that they will be a nice cyclical. Also, this is the one that has this is the one that has the line, "You're my four-leaf clover in a field of ivy," right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that line. I think that's cool. It's a very visceral metaphor. You can see the ivy, you can almost smell, I don't know, at least people that as kids would run around through a yard or something like that trying to find four-leaf clovers. Kind of has that visceral, late summer night kind of feeling to it, just in that one little bit. And it's I thought it was a really nice metaphor kind of because of that.
That like 4th of July night feel to it,
Jesus Christ, man.
It's 4th of July. This album should be called Kyle's Problem with 4th of July.
Yeah, let's take a moment. Let's talk about where that comes from.
So how does that make you feel?
Yeah. Let's go back to the last time you could remember enjoying 4th of July.
There it was, 2005. I promise you, I didn't mean to make everything kind of fit into this anti-4th of July theme. It all just kind of happened, okay?
No, that's the beauty of songwriting, sometimes, no, like legitimately, like I've had so many songs that I didn't have any idea what they were about until like weeks later. I thought they were just nonsense lyrics, off the top of my head, kind of recording lyrics, just thinking, oh, this is all just kind of made up gibberish. And then like 2 months later, I go back and listen to the song. I'm like, oh, Jesus, like that's about a very specific breakup, or like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's actually a nice breakup song. I had no idea that's what it was.
Subconscious writing, just like whatever. Your brain knows what it's writing. It's just like, you know what? You're not gonna figure this out till like 5 weeks from now. But hey,
yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time, I think. I still don't feel that good at it, but it's taken me a long time to figure out how to actually write a song, because that's how I predominantly made music when I was in high school and college, is I would just make up songs, one after another, and just kind of add in some other parts, or just kind of hit record, start playing, hit record, start playing. And that's how I made songs. And then now it's a lot harder to do that. And now I have to figure out how to actually like sit down and be like, all right, so I'm going to write some words on a piece of paper and see if they go with the song. It's like, now it's this whole process, and it's kind of annoying.
I feel that so wholeheartedly, because I have the same problem. Like, I feel like when I was younger, I was just like shooting them out like left and right. I was be like, yeah, 10 songs in one day, let's do it. And now it's just like, if I get a song idea that I like and don't decide to like delete and trash later, I'm happy.
Do you think it's the like having to do taxes and buy washing machines and things like that now that are?
I think I'm more distracted. Like I can admit that I'm more distracted now than I was as a teenager. Like, what did I have to think about? Like boobs and music and skateboarding. Like,
right, which are all pretty much the same thing, right? I mean,
yeah, it's all the same thing.
I don't want to sound like an old fogey already, but it's like, when I was in high school and even most of college, like I didn't get a smartphone until I moved to New York after college when I was 24 or something like that.
I think I had my first one when I was like a senior in high school. Like that was my first phone. It was like a flip phone too. So
yeah. I had a flip phone for years, starting in college, and then I didn't get a smartphone until way after they had become kind of the norm. like Facebook sucked back then. There was no YouTube for the most part.
Garbage. Oh no, that YouTube was for like weird those weird end of the world video and like
all that stuff was slow. It was, it sucked. It was ugly. And it's like, so like, I think I just spent more time doing things and like playing music. And now it's like so much easier to like turn on Netflix and shit like that,
just stare at our phones for like 3 hours.
I prefer the narrative where at any moment I could just really spend a lot more time on music and not the other stuff, and I could get it back, versus the narrative of when you get older, you just get suckier at making music.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the latter.
Yeah, I mean,
I've definitely had that moment where I'm like, man, what happened? Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna speak for you, but where I can count myself lucky that I never got real famous, because now people would be like, oh man, their new stuff sucks.
Yeah, I feel that. You're like, that Kyle guy really is going downhill, ain't he?
But yeah, no one knows my music, so it's perfect. You just slowly decline in solitude and private, Just I think that's what everyone
drift
wants.
Away nice and quietly. Slowly contemplating our self realization of slowly fading out.
I'm just gonna delete this interview and just stop everything now. To get on the back on track one last time.
Take two.
In kind of looking back on the entire album or the experience of making it, what are your reflections or feelings on the process or the songs that came out of it?
I had a really great time doing it. I enjoyed all the things I was recording. I enjoyed like spending time just like doing this, like tinkering and finding sounds, and like, sorry if you hear my dogs running around upstairs.
It's all good.
I have a mastiff up above my head, and he's just like, he got the zoomies, it sounds like. Yeah, but I really enjoyed like looking for the sounds and like recording these songs. It made me want to get more instruments and stuff. So it made me think about like all the instruments I have too.
Which instruments are you thinking about getting?
I thought about like more synthesizers and more that meme going around of Kylo Ren just saying more. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I had someone on the podcast a couple episodes ago that did a lot of stuff with modular synthesizers. Because of that now I'm like, like following a lot of like Eurorack and synth accounts on Instagram, and they're I mean, it's so much fun though. Like when stuff comes through my feed, I have no idea what's going on, but I love watching.
There's one at the local guitar shop here, and before all this, I was like trying to play it, and like it was set up to where it makes sound, and then I like changed something, and I didn't know how to change it back, so I just like walked out of the shop, and I was just like, "Oh, I'll see you later. This thing's cool. Bye."
Uh-huh. I think that's the smart move. Whenever you do something like that.
I'm sure it was like something like stupid, like I just plugged in the wrong like an input into the output or something, and I was just like, yeah,
but just in case that you fry the whole thing.
I'm just gonna walk away. I'm just gonna walk away. It's okay.
Yeah. Other than more synthesizers, are there any other instruments that you would love to own or record with that you either don't have or haven't learned how to play yet?
I'm a terrible gear hoarder. I have so many instruments, but I'm constantly like looking for like ones I don't have. I live about 100 miles north of the city, and I'm right outside of Woodstock, so there's just like this giant concentration of music studios that have been here for decades.
Oh,
So
okay. I
like
see where you're going.
there's just a lot of musicians in this area, and they're constantly getting rid of equipment for like super cheap, and like it's so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be driving on the road and I'll see like an amp or like an organ or something on the side of the road, and I'll be like, oh well, I can always use another one. Why not?
Let's see if it works, you know?
Yeah, it's like I can fix that. It's okay.
If it doesn't work, I can always put one of my other amps on top of it, you know? And
Yeah, that's
get the amp off the ground on another amp.
yeah, that's and here I am now with a room full of stuff. And
I did know someone that found like a Fender twin reverb tube amp, and
that's good.
all it needed was new tubes.
Oh,
Like, can you imagine someone that like either something really weird happened with that person who owned it, or they were just too inept at understanding what they had that they thought, oh, it broke. And maybe they were so rich they didn't care. Who knew? I don't know. I can't even fathom the story that caused that to happen. But it just needed new tubes and like maybe like one resoldering of something, and that was it. And it's like, and it was this perfect tube amp. And so it does happen. That you know, it's worth. That's why it's always worth taking a look.
It's the luck of the draw, you know.
Yeah, doesn't happen so much here, but there are a lot of weekend markets like flow marks here. My wife picked up an air organ there a couple months ago, and it's so much fun. It's like one of those old plastic.
Yeah, I love those things.
It's like a quarter step out of tune from everything else.
Mine is the same way. It's like a quarter step out of tune with everything, and so I cannot use it.
You can only use it if it's the only instrument in the song, because otherwise it's like God. I was like just thinking of like the most punishing thing would be a mandolin. Like we have a mandolin, and it's like trying to tune a mandolin to that organ would be like the mandolin would not make it through that experience, I think, is what would happen. Well, I feel like we've come to the end of the. I mean, we could keep talking about instruments, I think, forever, but and
it's a whole other podcast.
And yeah, I think that could be an offshoot. It's just like, what are the instruments that you want to buy, but you can't make yourself buy? It's like, well, I've always wanted a Fender Jaguar bass, or your Jaguar guitar, but like,
I actually just got a Fender Jaguar bass.
Really?
Yeah.
How is it?
Oh, I love it. This guy sold it to me for like super cheap because he's like, it doesn't work. And it turns out he just didn't change the battery for the pickups. Yeah, it was great. Love it.
How do people find more of your stuff on the internet? Like if someone listens to this and they go, hey, I like that Kyle, he has a cool sound to him.
Well, there's a couple of things. They can go to Spotify and they can listen to the ambient instrumental stuff that I've been making called Dancing Blue. If they like the more singer-songwriter aspect of it, they can go to Kyle and the Pity Party, which is more songwriting rather than instrumental, and that's on Spotify and Bandcamp and everything. And if those aren't really getting their goat, they can check out just my name, Kyle McDonough, on Bandcamp, and there's a bunch of stuff on there still.
All right, man. Cool. Thanks so much for doing this. Like, yeah, I really enjoyed the record a lot.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun talking about instruments with you.
And I think it's an awesome idea. I mean, I had a blast, and if I come back and do another one, I'm gonna try and challenge myself even more.
Keep in touch, man.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Weekly EP. Once again, my name is Cody Swanson. I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode and interview. I think that Kyle and I probably could have kept talking for a long time about instruments, and I actually had to cut out a few of our rambling side conversations about synths and various odd guitars, so I would count this as a fun and successful conversation. Please check out more of Kyle's music by going to Spotify and searching for Dancing Blue or Kyle and the Pity Party, or go to kylemcdonough.bandcamp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps a lot. You can find all the episodes and more on our website, weeklyep.com. Also, follow us on Instagram. We'll see you next Wednesday, and if you or someone that you know would like to do your own weekly EP, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you.